Imagine you could step through doorways in time to any era across the Earth's 4.7 billion year history, from the exotic far future to the streets of London or a primeval forest. What's to stop evolution altering course with creatures running rampant across time unchecked? Now imagine we could watch these events play out chronologically. Welcome to the complete primeval timeline. We'll start at the beginning, just after the Earth's creation. During the Precambrian supereon, during Earth's first few billion years, the atmosphere was high in sulfur and carbon dioxide, consisting of a yellow fog-like sulfuric gas. Not many creatures are known from this time, only parasitic worm-like creatures. At least 2 magnetic rips in time called anomalies opened here, one leading to 2006 and one to 2011. Several worms went through and didn't return. At the end of the Precambrian, we reached the start of the Paleozoic era. Nothing is known to have happened in the Cambrian or Ordovician periods. During the Silurian period, the atmosphere was high in carbon dioxide and low in oxygen, so life was predicted as only being a few basic plants and some bugs. In reality, giant invertebrates like scorpions and millipedes lived on the land. An anomaly opened leading to 2007. Sprat the dog and Taylor Craig arrive in the Silurian. Sprat soon leaves. 3 of Oliver Leake's mercenaries arrive to capture creatures. They get attacked and 2 are killed by a scorpion. Stephen Hart and Nick Cutter arrive to rescue Taylor. A millipede goes to 2007 but is quickly returned and the anomaly closes. The lead mercenary, known as the Cleaner, I'm a professional, was killed by a scorpion. Another anomaly to 2007 opens and Nick, Stephen and Taylor escape the Silurian. It's likely Oliver Leake sent more mercenaries through the second anomaly to collect 3 giant scorpions. An anomaly opened to an anomaly spaghetti junction, possibly in the Cretaceous. A Bronto Scorpio travelled through and returned, followed by Evan Cross, Dylan Weir and Connor Temple. They soon left with the scorpion's tail. During the Devonian period, ammonites first evolved. At some point in her travels through the timelines, Helen Cutter was slimed in the Devonian. It's unknown if the culprit was animal, vegetable or mineral. She presumably travelled through an anomaly to 2007 in Timeline 2 for a shower to wash off the slime's eye-watering smell. Possibly around this time, a recurring anomaly opened up to the present day and allowed several labyrinthodonts to travel there and back before closing. During the Carboniferous period, an anomaly opened to 2006 in the original timeline. Several arachnids and an arthropleura travelled through. Helen Cutter was also here and travelled through the anomaly. She returned shortly after. The arachnids would then return to the Carboniferous. It's unknown how long Helen waited in vain for her husband to join her. However, she apparently travelled to the Cretaceous later in the original timeline. It's likely Oliver Leake sent mercenaries through the anomaly to collect an arthropleura. Somehow, Project Magnet captured a giant dragonfly, presumably from around this time. During the early Permian period, an anomaly opened to 2007. Helen Cutter, Jenny Lewis, Jake Hempel, and 5 Special Forces soldiers arrived in a barren wasteland. They were attacked by several basking Dimetrodon, leading to one of the soldiers being bitten. The group managed to escape through another anomaly to an anomaly spaghetti junction in an unknown time period. In the mid to late Permian, an anomaly opened to 2012, and 2 Lycanops travelled through and the anomaly closed after. Near the end of the Permian, an anomaly opened to 1998 in the original timeline. A large Gorgonopsid travelled through. Helen Cutter was attacked and escaped the Gorgonopsid into the Permian and spent an unknown amount of time here before leaving to begin her 8 years of travel through the anomalies. It is likely the Gorgonopsid also returned to the Permian and the anomaly then closed. Around this time, an anomaly opened up to 2009. A group of Diictodon went through, all but 2 were returned later. At some point in the Permian, an anomaly leading into the far future in Timeline 1 opened up. A family of highly evolved, wingless bats migrated to the Permian and began establishing themselves here, the two parents making kills to feed their 5 young. Helen Cutter again appeared in this time period. She discovered a future predator feeding on a helpless Permian creature. However, when she got too close, it chased her through the 2006 anomaly to Timeline 1, bringing its family with it. Possibly during this time, Oliver Leake sent mercenaries through the anomaly to collect 2 Scutosaurus. A few days later, Helen returned with her husband, Nick Cutter, Captain Ryan, and 2 Special Forces soldiers to find the future anomaly, bringing back the baby predators. They set up a campsite to base their searches from. They were soon followed by the mother predator, who killed all of the soldiers. The mother viciously fought a Gorgonopsid to protect her babies, but was defeated. Nick and Helen then buried Captain Ryan, Helen's camera, and the soldiers in the Permian hills, leaving the destroyed campsite. This is the first junction in the timelines where evolution altered course. It is unknown what happens in the original timeline here, but Nick and Helen not finding the dangerous future anomaly and unknowingly leaving 2 baby predators here presumably negated the original timeline. They travelled back through the same anomaly, but this time it led to 2006 in Timeline 2. Shortly after, Helen Cutter returned here to search for the future anomaly, and the Permian anomaly closed after her. She presumably found the future, however instead of leading to Timeline 1, it led her to the future in Timeline 2. Several years later in the original timeline, the Permian anomaly reopened, this time to earlier in 2006. Another Gorgonopsid, a Scutosaurus, and a Silurian travelled through. Ben Trent briefly viewed the Permian through the anomaly and saw a flock of Silurian flying past. The Scutosaurus returned and was reunited with its herd. A younger Cutter and Ryan ventured through the anomaly and returned the Silurian. They discovered the ruins of the campsite, not realising it was made by their future selves. Around 2 hours later, they returned to 2006, shortly followed by the same Silurian, and the anomaly closed. The Gorgonopsid did not return. With the end of the Permian and Paleozoic era, we reach the start of the Mesozoic era. During the Triassic period, an anomaly opened to 2011. A pack of Therocephalians travelled through and were presumably sent back. Around the same time, an anomaly opened up to 2008. Several Euparkeria briefly went through. Somehow, several Postosuchus were captured by Tom Samuels. An anomaly opened to 2012 and a pack of Daemonosaurus travelled through and returned later. In the mid-Jurassic period, an anomaly opened to 2006. A Liopleurodon went through but didn't return. Before or after, another anomaly opened to 2011. Several Liopleurodon went through and shortly returned, chasing the submarine HMS Gartside with Abby Maitland, Connor Temple, Matt Anderson and others on board. A swimming theropod was also returned on board. It was ejected to distract the Liopleurodon as the submarine returned through the anomaly. Just before the anomaly was permanently locked, a nuclear torpedo was sent through. It's unknown if it exploded or lied dormant. Somehow, a Eustreptospondylus was captured by Tom Samuels. An anomaly opened to 2012, a cargo plane flew through and crash-landed. A large queen beetle travelled through and returned shortly after. Evan Cross and Dylan Weir went through to save the 2 plane pilots, however they returned alone as the drone beetles had killed them. A Stegosaurus appeared in 2010, implying an anomaly opened here. An anomaly opened to 2012, 2 Ornitholestes travelled through, 1 returned later. Lieutenant Ken Leeds and Major Douglas from Project Magnet briefly travelled through this anomaly to collect bacteria and algae samples. Oh, and Helen Cutter apparently met a Utah raptor in this time period. In the early Cretaceous, apparently an anomaly opened to the 1950s. Sometime later, the anomaly was either still open or reopened, along with several other anomalies from various times and locations around this place, all leading to 2006. A juvenile iguanodon and several Eotyrannus went through. Nick Cutter, Stephen Hart, Connor Temple, Abby Maitland, and some soldiers arrived in a coastal open woodland. As the woodland started flooding, they were attacked by a pack of small black dromaeosaurs before escaping through one of the other anomalies. However, the lead soldier was killed. Then all the anomalies in the area closed soon after. Apparently an anomaly opened 2011 and an iguanodon went through. An anomaly opened in prehistoric Mongolia leading to 2009. 6 large velociraptors go through, and all except one returned soon after chasing Captain Becker in a jeep. They managed to kill Becker's fellow soldier before he returned to the present. An anomaly opened 2011, a pteranodon and 2 Utahraptors travelled through. Evan Cross and Dylan Weir came through the anomaly to the Cretaceous, followed by a Utahraptor. They quickly returned and the anomaly closed. At some point in another desert, an anomaly opened to around 2008 or 2009. Tom Samuels and his organisation built an oil refinery here to ship fuel back to the 21st century. Tom also kept a menagerie of assorted prehistoric creatures contained here. Several Postosuchus were fitted with electric snares to control them like dogs. Some of them were used to patrol the refinery's perimeter. Using a device he'd created, Tom Samuels opened an anomaly between his oil refinery and the Anomaly Research Center in 2009. He arrived here from the present and sent one of his Postosuchus through. Soon after, Sarah Page also arrived here. Samuels opened another anomaly to 2009, and Samuels sent through a Postosuchus and a Eustreptospondylus. Later, Danny Quinn and James Lester came through the same anomaly and were captured by Samuels' men. Later on, another anomaly naturally opened nearby in the desert. It also led to 2009. A herd of Sauroposeidon travelled through, but soon returned, followed by the Anomaly Research Center team. They were blocked from returning by artillery fire from the oil refinery. The Sauroposeidon stampeded the oil refinery, stopping the soldiers firing at the team. As the refinery burnt down, Samuels exited through his Ark anomaly, and Danny, Lester and Sarah escaped. All of Samuels' soldiers and refinery workers surrendered to the Ark team, who escorted them back through the desert anomaly to 2009. Tom Samuels was dragged back through from the Ark anomaly by his own Postosuchus and was savaged to death. At some point, an anomaly to the future opened, and Helen Cutter came through. She was soon followed by Danny Quinn, Connor Temple, and Abby Maitland, who closed the anomaly with a futuristic anomaly opening device. Helen then opened another anomaly to the Pliocene, but dropped her device when attacked by a pterosaur. She was followed through the anomaly by Danny and a large male raptor. The anomaly closed soon after. Abby and Connor were left marooned in the Cretaceous. 1 year later, the pair were still surviving here on a diet of roots, bulbs, and fish.
Tasty roots, yummy bulbs.
After being attacked by a Spinosaurus, Connor found Helen's anomaly opening device and opened an anomaly to 2011. Abby and Connor escaped the Cretaceous, followed by the Spinosaurus, and the anomaly closed soon after. An anomaly opened 2006 and a juvenile Caprisuchus travelled through. The anomaly presumably closed. Around the same time, a convergence anomaly opened 2011 and another Caprisuchus went through. The anomaly closed soon after. An anomaly opened 2006. 2 to 5 adult raptors and a baby went through the anomaly. Several hours later, Nick Cutter brought a male and female raptor back to the Cretaceous desert on a trolley. Stephen Hart briefly joined him. As the anomaly began to close, Nick and Stephen returned and the male raptor was decapitated by the closing anomaly. Either sometime before or after in the same desert area, Helen Cutter was in this time period. When trying to steal a pterosaur egg, the parent attacked and injured Helen. Soon after, she presumably travelled through another anomaly to 2006. At some point, an anomaly opened to 1868 and a female raptor went through. An anomaly opened 2006 and a pteranodon and a flock of small carnivorous pterosaurs travelled through. The anomaly later closed just after the pteranodon returned. Around the same time, a convergence anomaly opened 2011 and another flock of the small pterosaurs went through, and again the anomaly closed before they could return. In prehistoric South America, an anomaly opened 2009.
Flippin' heck.
A juvenile velociraptor briefly had travelled through, followed by a Giganotosaurus. However, it was soon lured back by Danny Quinn in a helicopter. Danny ditched the chopper here and escaped through the anomaly. It was locked just before a herd of Giganotosaurus could follow. Possibly coming from the Carboniferous, Helen set up a base near Hell's Aquarium in prehistoric North America while waiting for her husband to arrive through an underwater anomaly from 2006. A juvenile mosasaur went through the anomaly and came back soon after. The anomaly closed and reopened and the same mosasaur went through again. Sometime later, a Special Forces diver accidentally came through where he apparently died from disorientation. The mosasaur returned as the anomaly closed again. Helen found the diver's body and tied a handkerchief message onto his wrist and sent his body back through the reopened anomaly. When Nick Cutter eventually arrived, he found Helen bathing in a lagoon with some Hesperornis. This was the first time they had met in 8 years from their perspectives, and after a short, somewhat hostile reacquainting, Nick decided to leave despite Helen offering him to travel with her.
You rejecting me?
As Nick was pulled back through the anomaly, several other Special Forces divers were sent through the anomaly and captured Helen and brought her back to 2006 by force. Presumably in the Cretaceous, an anomaly Spaghetti Junction opened several anomalies to different points in time. Apparently an Albertosaurus and Mac Rendell from the Anomaly Research Center came through to this junction. They both travelled through an anomaly to 2006, but only the dinosaur returned. A Brontoscorpio came through a Silurian anomaly and then through an anomaly to June 2012. It soon returned to the Silurian. Evan Cross, Dylan Weir and Ken Leeds arrived here looking for the Scorpion. Leeds immediately left and Evan and Dylan went through the 2006 anomaly. Returning, they went through the Silurian anomaly. Dylan returned, then went to 2012. Later on, the same Albertosaurus travelled through another anomaly to post-2012. It soon returned and chased Kieran Coles through the same 2006 anomaly. Connor Temple followed looking for Kieran and accidentally went to the Silurian. Dylan returned to the Silurian, and her, Connor and Evan came back and went to 2006 to rescue Kieran. They all returned, followed by the Albertosaurus. Colonel Hall and Project Magnet arrived from 2012 and tranquilized the dinosaur. Everyone then returned to 2012. Later on, Connor and Kieran returned to the Spaghetti Junction and went back through their anomaly to post-2012. Much later, the Albertosaurus came back, being chased by Evan, Dylan and a different Mac Rendell, wearing a Project Magnet uniform. The dinosaur again went through the 2006 anomaly, followed by Mac. As the Albertosaurus came back, Evan gunned it down. As the anomalies at the Spaghetti Junction all began to close, Evan and Dylan desperately ran back towards their anomaly.
We changed something.
An anomaly opened 2009 and a pair of Deinosuchus travelled through. A group of lost time travellers called the Time Tribe visited the Cretaceous. They survived by eating arboreal raptors called tree creepers. When an anomaly opened 2011, Emily Merchant and Patrick Quinn travelled through with their sick friend Charlotte Cameron. 2 tree creepers followed after. Emily returned, followed by Matt Anderson. After an encounter with a tree creeper, they return. An anomaly opened to the same time, leading to the 2011 convergence, and another tree creeper went through but did not return. Near the very end of the Cretaceous, approximately 66 million years ago, an anomaly opened to the Medieval Age and a Dracorex travelled through. An anomaly opened to 2012, a Pachycephalosaurus travelled through. Another anomaly opened to 2012, a Triceratops went through and returned later, followed by Howard Kanan. It's unknown if he survived or escaped.
Interesting development.
An anomaly opened to the 2011 convergence and a Tyrannosaurus rex travelled through. It was presumably returned sometime later. A regular recurring anomaly was opening and closing just before the end of the Cretaceous, leading to periods between 1908 and 2007. At least 2 T-Rex, a herd of Anatotitan, a herd of Torosaurus, 2 Ankylosaurus, a pack of Troodon, several Didelphodon, a range of smaller mammals, and pterosaurs went through the anomaly. Whew. Nick Cutter, Connor Temple, Abby Maitland, and some Russians came through the anomaly, and it closed after. It was being affected by an oncoming asteroid. Another anomaly from a spaghetti junction opened, and Helen Cutter, Jenny Lewis, Jake Hempel, and 5 soldiers arrived. As they witnessed a T-Rex killing a Pachycephalosaurus, some Troodon killed one of the soldiers. As they met up with the other people, Helen left through her anomaly. The recurring anomaly reopened and everyone escaped the Cretaceous, and the anomaly was closed before any of the Cretaceous creatures could return. The asteroid, named Chicxulub Impactor, smashed into the Earth, causing the extinction of the dinosaurs, marking the end of the Cretaceous and the Mesozoic era. We reach the start of the Cenozoic era and the Paleogene period. During the Paleocene epoch, a recurring anomaly to the Holocene epoch opened. Several Titanoboas travelled back and forth over the years. During the Eocene epoch, an anomaly opened several times to ancient Egypt, and several Pristochampsus went through. The anomaly reopened later, now in 2009, but due to Egyptian meddling, now in Britain. One Pristochampsus travelled through, another tried to but failed, and the former one came back just as the anomaly closed. An anomaly opened up to 2009 and a herd of Embolotherium went through. Some of them returned just before the anomaly closed. Presumably, the rest of the herd was returned to their time through another temporary anomaly. During the Oligocene epoch, an anomaly opened to June 2007. A pair of Entelodons travelled through. A few hours later, one of them was returned after being tranquilized. On another occasion, an anomaly opened to 2011 and a family of Hyaenodon, consisting of 2 adults and 2 pups, travelled through and were returned later. During the Miocene epoch, an anomaly opened to 1936. A flock of terror birds travelled through and presumably returned after, and the anomaly closed. The same anomaly reopened later, now leading to 2009. Either the same flock or another flock of terror birds travelled through. All but 2 or 3 returned and the anomaly closed. During the Pliocene epoch, an anomaly to the future opened and a future bird came through. It possessed several Thylacosmilus and took them through another anomaly to 2006. Sometime later, they all returned. An anomaly opened to 2012. 2 adult Titanis walleri terror birds and a juvenile travelled through. Only the adults returned. In the African Great Rift Valley, an anomaly opened from the Cretaceous. Helen Cutter, Danny Quinn, and a raptor came through. Helen planned to wipe out humanity in the future.
Somebody's poisoned the water hole!
To kill 13 Australopithecus, early human ancestors, in this time. As Danny confronted her, the raptor knocked her and itself off a cliff, and both died. The anomaly closed just before Danny could return, leaving him stranded. Danny then returned to Helen's body and searched her possessions and found notes on someone called Philip Burton. Approximately 6 months later, Danny encountered several terror birds and spent the rest of the year fighting against them using a clubbed stick which he named Molly. An anomaly opened up to 2011 and a terror bird travelled through, followed by Danny. A few hours later, Patrick Quinn arrived here and Danny followed after to stop Patrick finding another anomaly. It's unknown what happened here. Presumably, the terror bird was returned soon after. During the Pleistocene epoch, an anomaly opened to the early 2000s. A 6 Smilodon cub went through and the anomaly closed. An anomaly opened up to 2007. A large male Columbian mammoth was separated from its herd when it travelled through the anomaly, which closed soon after. Around the same time, a convergence anomaly opened to 2011 and another mammoth went through. The anomaly closed soon after. During the Holocene epoch, in ancient Egypt, an anomaly opened to the Eocene. At least one Pristachampsis came through and was worshipped as the god Amut. The Egyptians built a stone cage from magnetite to contain and move the anomaly. They named it the Sun Cage because they thought the anomaly was part of the sun. However, it closed at some point. During the medieval ages, it's possible around the 6th century that a recurring anomaly opened in the Scottish Loch Ness, with a pliosaur-like creature appearing, leading to the myth of the Loch Ness Monster. All searches of the loch over the following centuries could never find any evidence of the creature. Sir William de Mornay was a mercenary knight who fought all over Europe for hire. An anomaly to the Cretaceous opened and a Dracorex came through. It started terrorising a local village. As everyone hid in the church, Sir William was called in to vanquish the dragon. Another anomaly opened nearby in the forest to 2009 and Sir William chased the Dracorex through. Sarah Page came through the anomaly and asked the villagers about the night. She returned soon after. Later, Sir William returned to the village and told the villagers,
The beast is factory!
He then married Lady Elizabeth Lionel and had several children with her. Many years later, the couple were buried at the church which became abandoned over hundreds of years. An anomaly to the future opened in South America. At least one futuristic bird came through and was worshipped as the god Pachacamac by the Incans. Possibly around this time, Titanoboas came through a Paleocene anomaly during early human habitation in the future British Columbia area. They became incorporated into Native American culture as Sisuitl. Around this time, an anomaly opened up on Mauritius, leading to a spaghetti junction, and a flock of 5 dodos went through. At least 2 of them were carrying tapeworm-like parasites. It's unknown when or where exactly the anomaly spaghetti junction was located. It could have been in the past or the future, but it was known to have at least 7 anomalies leading to assorted time periods. Apparently, Helen Cutter used this junction several times during her 8 years of travel through the anomalies. On one occasion, Helen arrived here through an anomaly from 2006 in Timeline 1 and escaped through another anomaly. Stephen Hart and Captain Ryan chased her here, but lost her. After they returned, the 5 dodos arrived here and travelled through to 2006. Only 3 of them returned before the anomaly closed. Sometime before or after, Helen came here again through another anomaly from the mid-Permian. She was escorting Jenny Lewis, Jake Hempel, and 5 other Special Forces soldiers. They all departed through another anomaly leading to the late Cretaceous. During the Victorian era, in 1840, Emily was born. In 1867, Emily was married to Henry Merchant, and soon after, she accidentally went through an anomaly to another time period. After several years of travelling through the anomalies, Emily returned the same year. In 1868, an anomaly to the Cretaceous opened and a female raptor came through. It proceeded to kill 12 people and became known as Spring-Heeled Jack. Soon after, a frustrated Henry incarcerated Emily to Bedlam Hospital, where she spent the rest of her life. A slight change in the timeline occurred here. Another anomaly opened 2011. The raptor went through before it had killed anyone. It returned soon after, followed by Matt Anderson. He encountered Emily and warned her of her fate in Bedlam. They then captured the raptor and took it back through to 2011, and Henry followed them through but didn't return. In 1902, Patrick Quinn was in Russia during this time and took the name Ethan Dabrowski. He murdered at least 6 people for fun before leaving this time to join the Time Tribe. In 1908, a large meteor hit in Tunguska, Siberia in Russia. It was either drawn here by a large magnetic anomaly or caused it to open to the Cretaceous. In the early 20th century, Egyptologists uncovered the sun cage and studied its hieroglyphs. Around 1931, an anomaly was discovered and a research bunker was built over it and a cabin nearby. Professor John Morton and 3 other scientists were researching it. In 1938, several terror birds came through the anomaly. Their screeches were recorded on vinyl before they killed Morton's team. Morton was locked in the bunker and he wrote these details in a coded diary before he died. The birds presumably returned as the anomaly closed. In North America, Project Magnet was formed on the 2nd of December 1950 as a government bureau for investigating unexplained phenomena such as UFOs. On the 21st of August 1954, Project Magnet was officially declared redundant, although it continued to operate at above top secret. In the 1950s, after occupying Guns Island off the coast of Ireland during World War II, the British government found an early Cretaceous anomaly on the island and built a bunker around it to study it. It is unknown what happened here, but the government eventually renounced claim to the island after the Cold War, leaving Ireland and France to debate over ownership. Another meteor hit Earth in Tunguska, Russia in the early 1960s. And now we've reached what I like to call the Primeval Birthday Bonanza. In 1969, James Lester and Daniel "Danny" Quinn were born. In 1971, Joseph Wilder and Philip Burton were born. In 1972, Thomas "Tom" Ryan was born. In 1973, Nicholas "Nick" Cutter and Helen Ambrose were born. In 1974, Oliver Leake and Christine Johnson were born. In 1975, Stephen Hart was born. In 1980, in the original timeline, a woman was born as Claudia Brown. However, in Timeline 2, the same woman was born as Jennifer "Jenny" Lewis. Brooke was born on the 20th of May 1980. It is likely Evan Cross, Kenneth "Ken" Leeds and Angelica "Ange" Finch were born around this year as well. In 1981, Sarah Page was born. Patrick Quinn, younger brother to Danny, was born. They both lived in a middle-class house. In 1983, Connor Temple was born. It is likely Tom and Duncan were also born around this year. In 1985, Abigail Abby Sarah Maitland, Caroline Steele, and Hilary Becker were born. Jack Maitland, younger brother to Abby, was born sometime after this. In 1987, Mac Rendell was born. It is likely Toby Nance and Dylan Weir were born around this year as well. In 1991, Jessica Jess Parker was born. Tom Ryan also served in the Gulf War, and an 8-year-old Connor Temple stayed in a museum overnight to see if the exhibits came to life. However, he ended up being locked in the toilet for 3 hours. Around this time, Nick Cutter and Helen Ambrose met in college. They once met on an archaeological dig led by Russian scientist Rina Suvova, and Helen and Nick got married soon after college. In 1995, in an island house for sale, an anomaly to the future opened and a chameleon camouflaging ape-like creature came through. A 14-year-old Patrick and his friends Matt and Ryan, no relations to Matt Anderson or Tom Ryan, broke into the house for sale where they were attacked by the camo beast. Ryan escaped, Matt was killed, and Patrick fled through the anomaly to the future. The anomaly closed soon after leaving the camo beast in the present. In the aftermath, the police searched the house and Ryan was questioned but found nothing. Danny Quinn joined the police after this to try to help find his brother and kept a close eye on Ryan and the house. However, he was unaware the camo beast was now residing in the house, feasting on local pets. Around this time, the Maitland family visited the Galapagos Islands. The exotic reptiles left an impression on a young Abby. In 1997, a 14-year-old Connor Temple began building an online creature database. By 1998, Helen and Nick were teaching at the Central Metropolitan University. Helen became obsessed with evolutionary puzzles which could not be explained by conventional science and came up with theories that Nick found ridiculous, leading them to grow apart. Helen then had an affair with one of her students, Stephen Hart. At some point, Helen discovered a Permian anomaly in the Forest of Dean, but didn't tell her husband for fear that he'd reveal it to the public. After Nick didn't go with Helen on a certain field trip, she went back to the forest. Outside an aster, she encountered a gorgonopsid and had to flee through the anomaly to escape it, thus beginning her 8 years of travels through the anomalies. the Gorgonopsid presumably returned and the anomaly closed. In the aftermath of Helen's disappearance, the only evidence that was found was her rucksack. Nick started grieving, leading to him growing closer with Stephen Hart, who later became his lab technician. The affair remained unbeknownst to Nick. In 2001, Gideon and Matt Anderson arrived from a desolate future and started preparing Matt to join the Anomaly Research Centre. Around this time, an anomaly to the Pleistocene opened in Valerie Irwin's garage. A sick Smilodon cub came through and she adopted it with her boyfriend Dave. At some point, James Lester and Tom Samuels were working at the Home Office in management consultancy. The minister asked Lester to review the fault in one of Samuels' plans, which resulted in Samuels' firing, and Christine Johnson was sent to head the MI6 in Jamaica. Around this time, Hilary Becker received cadet training from Captain Joseph Wilder at Sandhurst and was top of his class. After working in Kandahar and Siberia for the Canadian Army, Major Ken Leeds was demoted to lieutenant and transferred to redundant Project Magnet as the only member. At some point, Abby Maitland joined the Wellington Zoo and Connor Temple became a student at the Central Metropolitan University, a student of Professor Nick Cutter in evolutionary zoology. However, they never met as Cutter never turned up to the seminars. In 2006, another meteor hit Earth in Tunguska, Russia. An anomaly to the Cretaceous opened in a couple's house and a juvenile Caprasuchus came through. It was flushed down a toilet to the sewers, where it lived and ate rats and homeless people. In the original timeline, on the 17th of May 2006, 8 years after Helen Cutter's disappearance, the Forest of Dean anomaly from the late Permian reopened. A large Gorgonopsid, a Scutosaurus and a Silurisaurus came through. The Gorgonopsid was photographed near a truck stop nearby, and the lizard-like reptile was found and adopted by Ben Trent, who named him Rex. Abby Maitland, on behalf of the zoo, was called out to collect him. Connor Temple, Stephen Hart and Professor Nick Cutter go to the forest to investigate. They meet up with Home Office official Claudia Brown and Abby and discover the anomaly after the Scutosaurus returned through it. The Home Office put James Lester and Claudia in charge of dealing with the anomaly operation. Lester allowed Cutter and Special Forces Captain Ryan to return Rex to the Permian. Following their return, and Rex's, the anomaly closed and the Gorgonopsid was gunned down in an attack. Abby then smuggled Rex to her flat during the cleanup by Captain Ryan and the Special Forces. Cutter, Stephen, Connor and Abby were unofficially drafted into the anomaly operation the next day. Afterwards, Helen Cutter left an Ammonite calling card for her husband. It's unknown if it survived. The team dealt with some arachnids and an Arthropleura from a Carboniferous anomaly in the London Underground. Helen told an envenomated Stephen that she was waiting for Cutter in the Carboniferous, but he resisted temptation. Soon after this, the Home Office held a meeting to decide an official policy on dealing with the anomalies.
Our job is to predict and contain them.
When a Cretaceous anomaly appeared in a swimming pool, then a reservoir, and then a household basement, the team dealt with a Mosasaur and Hesperornis incursion. Lester sent Cutter through the anomaly to bring Helen Cutter back, but ended up sending the Special Forces to capture her instead. Helen was taken to the Home Office and interrogated by Lester and Claudia. Connor moved into Abby's flat and Helen led the team to the anomaly, escaping in the process. Several dodos came through, and one infected Connor's friend Tom with a deadly parasite, leading to his death. 1 month later, the team dealt with a pteranodon and a small pterosaur flock incursion on a golf course. Connor and Rex have a close encounter, Nick and Claudia have an even closer encounter, and Helen later saved Claudia from the pterosaurs by blowing up the golf club hotel. The anomaly later closed just after the pteranodon returned. The Forest of Dean anomaly reopened and Helen was chased through from the Permian by a family of futuristic bats. After several disappearances, the team discovered the future predators and kill the father and capture the babies. Nick, Helen, Captain Ryan and some Special Forces soldiers travelled through the Permian anomaly. Sometime later, they were followed by the mother predator. It's unknown what else happened here in this timeline as it was averted in the Permian. After the 17th of May 2006, when the first anomaly was discovered by the Home Office, the Anomaly Research Centre was set up by the Minister with James Lester in charge and Oliver Leake as his assistant. Nick Cutter was made team leader and Stephen Hart, Connor Temple and Abby Maitland the research team. Nick, Stephen and Connor all left their positions at the Central Metropolitan University and Abby left the Wellington Zoo. At some point, Oliver Leake and Helen Cutter formed an alliance. He would collect creatures for power, keeping them in a creature prison, and she would try to understand and replicate the Permian timeline change. One of Leake's first creatures was an Arthroplura, presumably captured in the London Underground. Helen was also interrogated by the Anomaly Research Centre at some point. Sometime after, during the Dodo incursion, Tom was infected by a parasite and died, leaving Connor's other friend Duncan to go into a downward spiral of conspiracies and creature sightings. The Forest of Dean Permian anomaly reopened. The team presumably dealt with a future predator incursion. Possibly during this time, Leake's organisation captured 2 Scutosaurus for the creature prison. After the predator incursion, the Anomaly Research Centre sent an expedition through the Permian anomaly to find the future anomaly, led by Nick and Helen Cutter and Captain Ryan. These 3 were never seen again. Lester, Connor, Abby and Stephen were left waiting. Soon after, the original timeline versions of Helen and Nick arrived in Timeline 2. Helen returned to the Permian and Nick realised something had gone terribly wrong. And the anomaly closed, but the team didn't know what he was talking about. Cutter was taken to the Anomaly Research Centre for the first time. A Cretaceous anomaly opened in a shopping mall and Leake secretly sent his mercenaries there to capture raptors before Lester sent the ARC team in. In the mall, Cutter and Connor noticed radio interference from the anomaly. The team captured 3 of the raptors and they returned them through the closing anomaly. Following the minister's advice, the very next morning, Lester hired Jennifer Lewis as the public relations manager for the ARC. As she arrived in the building, Cutter noted she looked very similar to his Claudia Brown. Within the next few days, Cutter pitched an anomaly detector by tracking the anomaly's radio interference to Lester and Leake. They approved Connor supervising the build. Leake hired Caroline Steele to spy/distract Connor and Abby. Caroline met Connor and quickly got him infatuated. An injured Helen arrived from the Cretaceous and visited Stephen Hart for help. A Precambrian anomaly opened in an inner city office block. Several worm-like creatures and sulfuric fog came through. The ARC team arrived and destroyed all the worms and the building. Valerie Irwin's now fully grown Smilodon accidentally killed her boyfriend Dave. She buried him in the forest near Blue Sky Park. Connor built the anomaly detection device, though the team had to go to the park to deal with the big cat. After it killed Valerie, Leake smuggled it to his creature prison as the team went to the first anomaly detected. In Canada, on the 15th of September 2006, another anomaly from the Cretaceous Spaghetti Junction opened, and the Albertosaurus came through to a Canadian warehouse. Evan and Brooke Cross were investigating the anomaly when the dinosaur attacked them and killed Brooke. The dinosaur possibly killed Evan here. A 19-year-old Mac Rendell was bored living in council flats in East London and decided to join the British Army. Alternatively, the same future version of Mac from Timeline 4 arrived through the anomaly and saved Evan Cross from the Albertosaurus but was headbutted and fatally injured. As the Albertosaurus fled through the anomaly, Mac told Evan the location of his younger self as he died. Subsequently, Evan bought the warehouse for his company, Cross Photonics, kept a damage anomaly timer hidden, and cryogenically preserved Mac in the same room he had died in. Evan later travelled to the English council flats of the 19-year-old Mac of his time and recruited him to work for his security at his company in Canada. These actions unintentionally negated Timeline 4, which ArcMac came from, creating Timeline 5. Connor Temple, from post-2012, was presumably in the past during this timeline change, as he had knowledge of the ArcMac and the anomaly timer. In the subsequent years, Evan set up a department to research the anomalies/creatures, the Special Projects Group. He also built a rudimentary anomaly detector, but was unsuccessful in finding anything. He later hired Toby Nance as a tech expert. Ken Leeds from Project Magnet started keeping tabs on cross-photonics. Another alternate reality also occurred back on the 15th of September 2006. At 12:10 PM, around 6 hours before Evan and Brooke arrived at the warehouse, a 6-year-older Evan and Dylan Weir arrived here through the Spaghetti Junction anomaly. Evan considered staying to prevent Brooke's upcoming death, but Dylan convinced him to leave. Around 4:47 PM, the Albertosaurus chased future ARC team member Kieran Coles through the anomaly and injured him. Older Evan, Dylan, and Connor Temple arrived in the warehouse and rescued Kieran. The Albertosaurus chased them back through to the Cretaceous. At 6:10 PM 2006, Evan and Brooke arrived at the warehouse. The Albertosaurus came through the anomaly again and presumably killed Brooke. Evan was about to be attacked when Timeline 5 Mac Rendell, wearing a Project Magnet uniform, came through the Spaghetti Junction anomaly and saved him. It is unclear if he survived, however the Albertosaurus returned through the anomaly, which closed soon after.
Disclaimer: the following segment concerning the book Shadow of the Jaguar was intentionally edited in a style known as posting. This is due to the creators of this video being highly critical of the book's storytelling. We apologise to any Shadow of the Jaguar fans out there, however many of you there are. With that said, back to the timeline.
Jumping back to Timeline 2, an anomaly opened in Peru to the Pliocene, and a Thylacospilus pack and futuristic bird came through. Some poachers discover their presence and try to catch them for profit. They also try to kill anyone who finds out about them, including the sons of a well-known figure, Sir Charles Burstow. He arranged for the minister to arrange for Lester to arrange for the ARC team to go to South America to investigate. They went undercover as on holiday to avoid suspicion. After Stephen went hang gliding, Connor went shopping and meeting their sketchy tour guide. When the team rescued one of the sons, the poachers caught on and sent mercenaries after them. Jenny was captured but was rescued by one of the team's soldiers, who single-handedly took down the poachers' compound. The anomaly was discovered deep in the forest in an abandoned temple, where the future bird and Thylacospilus launch an attack on the team. Cutter had to fire a flare to burn the flesh of one of the soldiers killed by the bird to send them all running back through their anomaly. These events left a profound impact on the team as they returned to the UK and never thought about it again.
What the did I just read?
When a big storm occurred over Guns Island off the coast of Ireland, multiple anomalies leading to the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous opened and were detected after Connor upgraded the detection device. Many creatures came through, including a pack of Eotyrannus, an Iguanodon, and a Liopleurodon. The ARC team and a group of soldiers made the treacherous voyage via Ireland to Guns Island, but their boats capsized, leaving them marooned. Jenny also arrived on the island with the Irish military, however their helicopter crashes. The team rescued her from some Eotyrannus, and they sheltered in the old research bunker and escaped to the Cretaceous through an anomaly. Lester later arrived on the island with the French military, and the team returned to the present through another anomaly. As the storm cleared, the team evacuated the lost island. Approximately 6 months after the anomalies were first discovered by the Home Office, an anomaly from the future opened in the Isle of Dogs. It flooded a warehouse with tidal water, and a future shark and several large aquatic primates came through. The anomaly closed within a few minutes. After a long search of the nearby area, the team eventually found the shark and the mer creatures. They also had to rescue Abby, who was taken to the future by a mer queen. Afterwards, Lester left Leek in charge of sealing the anomaly site with several tons of concrete. However, it is likely he sent some mercenaries through this anomaly to collect 2 mer creatures for his creature prison first. Helen appeared in this time and spoke to Leek in an empty car park. She disappeared soon after, and possibly went to the Devonian period. An anomaly opened from the Silurian in Hackney, and a girl, Taylor Craig, and her dog Sprat accidentally went through. Helen returned from the Devonian to Stephen's apartment. She talked to Stephen and hinted to him that there might be a traitor in the Ark. Leek hacked the anomaly detector, then sent 3 mercenaries, including the cleaner, through to collect creatures. Connor and Cutter eventually debugged the ADD to find the anomaly. As the team arrived in Hackney, Leek bailed, leaving his mercenaries. The team discovered Taylor was marooned in the past, and Cutter and Stephen went through to rescue her, but the anomaly closed. Connor broke up with Caroline via text. She realised her spying time was up and captured Rex and gave him to Leek. Another anomaly to the Silurian opened in a prehistoric adventure park. Stephen, Cutter and Taylor returned to the present. Leek stole the mercenary's headset that Cutter had brought back from the Silurian. It is also likely he sent some mercenaries through the second anomaly to collect 2 Silurian scorpions for his creature prison. An anomaly from the Pleistocene opened on the M25 and a Columbian mammoth came through. It became panicked in the traffic congestion, causing people to evacuate. As Jenny
I've shut down the motorway at the next 2 junctions, kept the camera crews out, shut down the mobile networks, there's no fly zone in place, and the eyewitnesses have been debriefed.
The ARC team arrived and contained the mammoth. Stephen arrived with Helen after she convinced him to go public with the anomaly operation. However, Cutter fired him. Journalist Mick Harper from the Evening News wanted to go public with the story. Cutter and Connor set up a false anomaly alert and a secret virus on the detector to catch the traitor in the Ark. Not wanting to be caught, Leek sent Jenny to the church where Cutter confronted her. Realising the error, the team headed back to the Ark. Before Leek left, he put a van with a neurally clamped future predator in the Ark. Barely escaping, Lester released the mammoth from its containment and it gored the predator. After a failed bombing from Leek, Lester then headed out to find Leek and the team went to find Caroline to retrieve Rex. Lester was tricked with diversion and the team unknowingly arrived at the creature prison and were taken captive. Helen appeared as the team realised Leek had an army of creatures. Leek released a Silurian scorpion on a resort beach to distract the Ark. Lester had no one else to call except Stephen to deal with the threat. Helen took her husband on a tour of the prison and explained how she wanted to replicate the Permian timeline change by making changes to the future. Leek forces Abby, Connor, Caroline and Jenny to face the wrath of his Smilodon. Cutter caused Leek's computer to crash, and when Leek rebooted it from his tablet, it downloaded the secret virus which shut down all the creature prison's computers and creature cages. Everyone and every creature then escaped into the prison's depths. As Stephen caught the scorpion, Helen called him and tricked him into coming to the prison. Jenny, Abby, Connor and Caroline, with Rex, escaped and called Lester. Cutter killed Leek's predator by removing its neural clamp. However, Leek revealed he had a Praetorian guard of predators. As he called Lester to gloat, Cutter deactivated all the neural clamps and the wild predators killed Leek and ran rampant with the other creatures. Stephen arrived and he, Helen and Cutter locked all the creatures in the containment room to destroy themselves, and he sacrificed himself to shut the final door. Sometime later, a funeral was held for Stephen at Kensal Green Cemetery. However, an anomaly opened and the team had to leave to deal with the threat. Afterwards, Helen came to pay her respects to Stephen and promised things would change by showing him her army of clones created from the cleaner's DNA. The anomaly in Tunguska, Russia reopened again. Several late Cretaceous creatures came through, including several herds of Anatotitan and Torosaurus, 2 Ankylosaurus, a pack of Troodons, several Didelphodons, several shrew-like mammals, a crested bird, a small pterosaur, and 2 Tyrannosaurus rexes. A Russian research team, including the Cutter's old teacher, Rina Suvova, and the Federal Security Services, travelled to Siberia and found all the creatures, or erratics as they called them. Back in the United Kingdom, an Oligocene anomaly opened on Oxford Street and 2 Entelodons came through and rampaged. Cutter and the ARC team managed to send one back but had to euthanize the other one. Jenny covered up the incident as a movie stunt gone wrong. Sometime later, a Triassic anomaly opened and several Euparkeria came through. Again, the team arrived and returned them all. Being near his old university, Cutter took Abby and Connor there to look through his old research papers. However, several Russian men from the Federal Security Services arrived here and kidnapped the 3 at gunpoint. They were taken to Siberia to help with the incursion there. Back in England, Helen broke into art grounds looking for her husband, who she'd noticed was missing, but she was captured by new security man Jake Hempel. Jenny Lewis and James Lester interviewed Helen, who agreed to take them to Russia via the anomalies. Helen led Jenny, Hempel and 5 other soldiers through an anomaly to the early Permian. Cutter, Connor and Abby met up with Rena and discovered all the creatures loose in Tunguska. The leader of the FSS threatened Cutter and Connor to help them detect where the dinosaurs were coming from. Eventually, they found the anomaly and they briefly went through. Later on, Jenny, Hempel and the soldiers returned to 2007 with Cutter, Abby, Connor and Rena. As Baba Yaga, a large female T-Rex, attacked everyone, a large EMP device was fired at the anomaly, which closed it just before the KT asteroid on the other side could impact. As Rena and the FSS were left to round up the remaining dinosaurs, including the Baba Yaga, the team were flown back to England. Nothing much is known to have happened in 2008. However, this may be around the time Tom Samuels set up an organisation in South Africa with a fake oil refinery, whilst really going through anomalies to the Cretaceous to collect oil.
Christine, what an unexpected pleasure.
At some point, Christine Johnson came back to England from MI6 Jamaica when the minister put her in charge of military liaison with the Anomaly Research Centre. However, instead of helping the ARC with military assistance, Christine started sending missions to the near future to collect knowledge and future predators via an anomaly in her headquarters. On one particular mission, she sent Captain Ross into the future to collect an unidentified artifact. Around this time, Christine also had secret surveillance cameras installed all around the ARC, notably in the ops room and Lester's office. You, quote unquote, were hired as a lab assistant at the Anomaly Research Centre. On your first day after meeting the main team and getting your own lab, you were contacted by a mystery woman called Eve. She regularly contacts you for intel or to complete small missions. Unknown to you, the woman was actually Helen Cutter in disguise. Nearly 2 years after Stephen Hart's death, the British Museum got a new loan display, the Egyptian Sun Cage. Jake Hempel left for unknown reasons, so James Lester hired Captain Becker as head of security for the Anomaly Research Centre. Lester met up with Christine Johnson, who revealed her new position. However, she cut the meeting short when Captain Ross arrived back from the future, empty-handed. The Sun Cage anomaly reopened and a Prista Champsus came through. With help from Dr. Sarah Page, the ARC team rounded up the crocodilian and sent it back through just as the anomaly closed. Cutter asked Connor to look into the effects of magnetite and electronic locking on anomalies. He then decided to look at predicting anomalies using mythological creature appearances in history. Sarah was then hired as a cryptozoology researcher.
Well, you can go back to lecturing school kids.
Coming from the future, Helen appeared in an abandoned building with her army of cleaner clones and set up a base there. She had obtained the object known as the Artifact. Cutter built a matrix trying to pinpoint and predict when and where anomalies would appear based on the appearances of mythological creatures in history. After his first prediction, the team went off to investigate an abandoned house for an anomaly. Unknown to them, this was the house that Patrick Quinn disappeared in 14 years ago, and the camo beast was still living inside. Helen sent one of her cleaner clones into the Ark using Sarah's stolen ID. The clone was looking for Cutter's DNA, however, it was shot by Becca. Danny Quinn caught the team investigating the house and was fixated with them.
Murder tourists. You make me sick.
The anomaly reopened and the camo beast returned before being shot by Danny. The Special Forces soldiers sealed the building and Danny resigned from the Metropolitan Police. Helen snuck into her old house and got some hair and saliva samples of her husband. She quickly retreated when Nick came home and she presumably travelled to the future. Mick Harper of the Evening News continued his investigation into the creatures. He started following Jenny Lewis for information. Connor started to build a mechanism to lock the anomalies with electricity. An anomaly to the Permian opened in the West London Hospital, and a group of ratty chipmunk beavers, Diictodon, came through. The Ark team dealt with the incursion, whilst Cutter and Abby helped a lady give birth. 2 Diictodon that were left behind were adopted by Connor and Abby and named Sid and Nancy.
We keep them.
Yeah.
Mick Harper followed the team and got a blurry photo of a Diictodon. Helen returned to the present from the future and sent her clone of Nick Cutter into the Ark to open the gates.
2 versions of Cutter. Sounds like some kind of nightmare.
Her clone army entered the Ark and took everyone hostage. As the team returned, Helen talked to Nick about the desolate future, her clones, and the artifact. Using the recording of the interrogation of Helen, Sarah created a recording of Helen commanding the clones to
Stop, do nothing, obey my voice.
Helen bailed and got her Cutter clone to detonate a bomb. It damaged the Ark building and killed all the clones. Luckily, the team was able to escape, however Cutter went back to find Helen.
Where the hell's he going?
Cutter hid the artifact as he found her. However, in her haste to change the future, she shot him and returned to the future. Connor followed into the burning building and rescued Cutter and the artifact, but unfortunately, it was too late. Professor Nick Cutter died age 36. He was buried at the same cemetery as his best friend, Stephen Hart. Christine Johnson began tests on a future predator, which was subsequently killed after it woke up by accident. As the Ark was repairing the building and the anomaly detector, Jenny Lewis was made temporary team leader by James Lester until they found a replacement for Cutter. The team detected the anomaly at Christine Johnson's headquarters, but she denied them access to the building. During this, Mick Harper followed them and stole Jenny's handheld anomaly detector and brought it back to the Evening News. A Cretaceous anomaly alert took the team to an airport, followed by Mick Harper and a camera crew, who in turn are followed by Danny Quinn. The Evening News crew found the anomaly and a juvenile velociraptor came through, but quickly returned as a Giganotosaurus came through and consumed a famous wildlife presenter.
Animal bites for us wildlife blokes, just a badge of courage.
The team and Danny secured the site as another Giganotosaurus came through. Connor locked the anomaly for the first time, but reopened it as Danny sent the G-Rex back through, but not before it consumed Mick Harper and his boss. Later, Abby's little brother Jack Maitland moves into her flat. Connor temporarily moved out with Sid and Nancy. When he couldn't find anywhere to live, Connor started sleeping in the Ark's locker room. As Danny broke into the Ark, an anomaly to the future opened in a businessman's house. Sir Richard Bentley's assistant Lloyd accidentally fell through the anomaly, and fungus spores came through as the anomaly closed. The team searched for an infected Sir Richard as Connor brought the spores back to the Ark. Both were frozen to destroy them, one fungus creature nearly killing Jenny. Questioning her life, Jenny handed in her resignation to Lester as the team suggested to make Danny the new team leader, much to Christine and Captain Wilder's disappointment. Lester discovered Connor sleeping in the Ark and reluctantly offered his weekday apartment to get him out.
I've got a feeling I'm going to profoundly regret this.
Connor then moved in with Sid and Nancy. In South Africa, Tom Samuels began releasing creatures in the local safari park to discourage any people from investigating his fake oil refinery. When tourists and rangers were killed by Eustreptospondylus, Danny and Lester travelled there to investigate. 2 weeks later, after Jenny's retirement, 2 Cretaceous anomalies opened in Maidenhead, United Kingdom, and 6 velociraptors came through one and 2 Deinosuchus from the other. Severe weather caused flooding throughout the town. This impeded the Ark team's response. Becca managed to lure the velociraptors back through their anomaly, as Abby and Connor captured the Deinosuchus. Meanwhile, back at the Ark, Tom Samuels' men broke into the Ark, briefly knocking Sarah unconscious. When Abby and Connor returned to the Ark, they met Tom Samuels, who told them he was sent by the Home Office to fill in for Lester at the Ark during his absence. In reality, he was there to monitor the team by having Becca place Connor, Abby and Sarah under house arrest by framing the break-in on them, giving him the opportunity to steal files from the anomaly detector. After Connor cleared their names, an anomaly to the Cretaceous opened at Surrey Quays Tube Station in the UK, and a herd of Sauroposeidon came through. Connor, Abby, Becca and some soldiers were sent to deal with the incursion. The team lured the sauropods back through the anomaly in a 4x4 using catnip. During this time, Samuels opened an anomaly to his Cretaceous oil refinery in Lester's office and left through it, leaving one of his Postosuchus in the office guarding the anomaly. Later, Sarah encountered the reptile and barely managed to escape through the anomaly. Sometime later, the Special Forces soldiers found the Postosuchus and locked it inside the office. After narrowly dodging attempts on their lives from the Eustreptospondylus, lions, Postosuchus and some of Samuels' men, Danny and Lester's investigation of the safari park led them to the South African oil refinery. After successfully infiltrating the compound, they were captured and taken hostage through an anomaly to Samuels' Cretaceous oil refinery. Sometime later, Tom Samuels returned to the Ark through his anomaly with plans to keep running the operation. However, he was locked in the office. His Postosuchus woke up and attacked him, both falling back through to the Cretaceous. Then the anomaly closed. Afterwards, when Lester and the team returned to the Ark, the office had been cleared. Lester revealed that everyone in the government or relating to Tom Samuels' organisation were all either arrested or denying knowledge of the oil refinery. Danny and Becca started testing the Ark security systems, following all the break-ins of Helen Cutter, Tom Samuels and Danny himself. Connor and Sarah discovered a time map in the artifact, but Christine Johnson was spying and commenced a takeover, getting permission from the minister. Abby, Connor, Sarah and Danny escaped with the artifact to a safe house, whilst Lester was relieved of his command by Christine Johnson.
You've been a bad boy.
Becca now had to follow her command. The safe house was Professor Morton's old research cabin, and the anomaly reopened, leading to a flock of terror birds attacking the team. Christine sent Becca, who captured the team and brought them back to the Ark, where Lester regained control because he had sent a recording of Christine to the minister, who was said to be very cross.
The minister is an imbecile. He can barely blow his own nose.
Whilst Abby was out, Jack Maitland called a poker party with his friends and gambled Rex, losing him to Tony. Sarah and Connor discovered that Rex was being auctioned online. However, Connor hid this to spare Abby's feelings, and he called Jack to reprimand him. An anomaly opened to medieval England, and an injured Draco Rex came through to a junkyard, followed by mercenary knight Sir William de Mornay. The team easily caught the dinosaur, but had trouble convincing the knight he didn't need to kill it.
Demons.
He then returned to his time. The Dracorex was put into the Ark Menagerie, and Connor went to get Rex back from Tony, with a little help. An anomaly to the future opened at a racetrack, and 2 futuristic invertebrates came through. The Ark team arrived, and 1 insect was run over by a race car.
Nice.
The site and anomaly was secured. Abby's post-mortem discovered it was some kind of giant ant or wasp, nicknamed Megopteran. Connor attempted to reopen the time map from the artifact, but with no luck. Jack Maitland stole Abby's anomaly detector and found his way to the racetrack, where he was attacked by the Megopteran, and accidentally unlocked the anomaly and drove into the future. The team arrived, and Abby, Connor, Danny and Becca went through to rescue Jack, while Sarah stayed behind to fix the locking mechanism. Sometime later, a young Megopteran attacked Sarah, but she managed to capture it and send it back through the anomaly as the rest of the team returned with Jack. Jack told Abby that he wanted to move out of the flat, and also that Connor got Rex back for her, leading to Abby and Connor's first kiss. Danny informed Lester about seeing a mystery woman with Captain Wilder in the future. Meanwhile, Christine Johnson and Wilder had Eve locked up at her headquarters. Little did they know, Eve was really Helen in disguise. Danny started spying on Johnson's military and snuck in once he saw Eve. Christine interrogated Eve, but the latter was soon rescued by Danny. An Eocene anomaly opened at a quad bike campsite, and a large herd of Embolitherium came through. The Ark team arrived and started herding them back through the anomaly whilst Connor distracted the bull. Danny arrived with Eve, but the anomaly closed, leading the remaining rhinos to stampede. The team tried to evacuate the campsite, but Eve opened an anomaly with a strange device, presumably sending the Embolitherium back to their time. Becca and the Special Forces secured the site. Danny took Eve back to the Ark as Christine and Wilder arrived with an arrest warrant for him. However, Eve took Christine hostage. She revealed herself as Helen and kidnapped Christine to the future through her own anomaly.
One ambitious little civil servant who bends the world.
Lester reviewed the Ark security tapes and discovered you, the lab assistant, had been sharing classified information with Eve/Helen. And he was furious.
Footage of you photographing and uploading confidential Ark research to none other than Helen Cutter. So you just passed on classified information of national importance.
When the anomaly at Christine Johnson's headquarters reopened, you were sent to deal with it. You had to fight off a Megopteran before escaping through the anomaly to the future. The same day, the minister quickly shut down the military liaison and had the building evacuated. As the team arrived at the racetrack anomaly, Christine's anomaly reopened. Abby, Connor and Danny went through to the future to find Helen, while Sarah and Becca headed back to Johnson's headquarters. 3 Megopterans came through, but were quickly dealt with by Becca. The anomaly closed again, so he and Sarah returned to the racetrack. When the others didn't return, Sarah had the idea to send rescue missions to find them. It would seem in one version of events, Christine Johnson survived her encounter with Helen. More on this later. However, it is unknown whether her actual death or Helen Cutter's absence in this time period, or a combination of both that averted Timeline 2's future. Either way, a third timeline was created here. Sarah Page deciphered Helen's journal and worked out she was planning something at Site 333. The Anomaly Research Center sent 4 missions to find Danny, Connor and Abby in the future through the racecourse anomaly. All were led by Captain Becca and Sarah Page. On the final mission, Sarah did not return. Due to all the loss of lives, the minister shut down the anomaly operation, leaving Becca and Lester unemployed and the Ark building locked down. Around this time, or potentially much earlier, an anomaly opened to the New Dawn future and a cluster of giant burrowing insects came through and proceeded to create an extensive tunnel network below London. The anomaly closed at some point and they set up a nest in an under construction supermarket. Around 3 months later, a Jurassic anomaly opened in the House of Commons members bar. A Stegosaurus came through and rampaged. It is unknown how it was contained. The minister came to regret his decision, and he arranged a public/private agreement between the government and Philip Burton of Prospero. The Anomaly Research Centre was reactivated with the minister and Burton in charge. They started a 1-month vetting procedure for new team members. Becker and Lester were interviewed about the closure and were offered their old jobs back. New staff, including Matt Anderson and Jess Parker, were interviewed about the new job positions. They were soon hired as team leader and field coordinator respectively. Over the next 2 weeks, the ARC operation moved into a Prospero facility. The Mammoth, Dracorex, Sid and Nancy, and Rex were moved to the menagerie. Sometime later, Matt arrived at the ARC and met Jess and Becca. He also arranged for high-tech tasers to be made for the team, replacing standard weaponry. The ARC officially announced Abby Maitland, Connor Temple, and Danny Quinn as missing, presumed deceased. An anomaly from the Cretaceous opened and an iguanodon came through. It rampaged at a beauty school until the ARC team dealt with it.
Best one I've had in a long time.
One full year after Abby, Connor and Danny's disappearance, and 8 months after the ARC was reactivated, the Dracorex escaped from the menagerie. As it was captured in Lester's office, the new electromuscular disruption weapons arrived, also known as EMDs. An anomaly from the Cretaceous opened and Abby and Connor came through. Becca welcomed them back. However, a giant Spinosaurus emerged from the anomaly.
Trust Connor to bring a pet back with him.
The team led it to an arena and tried shooting it with the EMDs. However, Connor saved the day when his anomaly opening device was swallowed by the Spinosaurus and accidentally opened an anomaly, sending it to an unknown time and location. Back at the ARC, Philip and Lester informed Abby and Connor they couldn't work for the ARC anymore, as they didn't have a military background. Abby was hired to work in the ARC's menagerie where Rex was. Whilst looking for a new flat, Connor rekindled with Duncan, who told him about a creature incursion near the docks. Abby, Matt and Becca all came in to help after the Caprasuchus revealed itself. The croc was caught but ended up dying. Lester bypassed the new rules and rehired Abby and Connor on the team.
And I want a pay rise!
Don't push your luck.
Jess offered for Abby and Connor to stay with her until they could find their own flat. A Cretaceous anomaly opened in a theatre and 3 members of the Time Tribe came through. Charlotte soon died from illness, leaving Ethan and Emily. Several tree creepers soon came through. The team arrived to deal with the incursion. Emily and Matt briefly went through the anomaly before returning. Philip had Connor install a new bioscan system after the Dracorex escape, which accidentally locked down the ARC. Connor managed to resolve the issue, saving Philip and Rex from suffocation. With Emily's help, Matt wrangled the last tree creeper. Becca tried to arrest Emily, but Matt concealed her and took her back to his place. A Triassic anomaly opened in a school on Saturday and a pack of Therocephalians lounged in the canteen. Connor, Becca and Matt arrived and saved 2 of the 3 students, before stunning all the creatures. Becca was bitten in the process. At the ARC, Philip decided to euthanize all the menagerie creatures out of kindness. Abby tried to jailbreak them, but luckily Lester blackmailed Philip into backing down. Back at Matt's flat, Ethan broke in and kidnapped Emily. Becca was on medical leave from his bite. The Witchfield anomaly reopened and was unstable when some farmers dumped diesel fuel onto it. 2 labyrinthodonts came through. Matt, Abby and Connor headed out to the country. Matt then left to rescue Emily from Ethan, who had buried her alive in a cemetery. Ethan incapacitated Matt and got away. Abby and Connor found the anomaly and sent the amphibians back through. Back at the ARC, Philip offered Connor a job at Prospero, and Emily moved into a room. Jenny Lewis got engaged to Michael and they were to be married in a stately house. An Oligocene anomaly opened and an adult hyenodon and 2 pups came through. The team came to deal with the incursion and rekindled with Jenny, who offered for them to stay for the wedding. Becca and Jess staked out Ethan's hideout. Becca eventually entered but was caught with a booby trap bomb. Luckily, Jess was able to disarm it before the timer expired. Whilst trying to send the pups back, Connor accidentally let 2 adult hyenodon through the anomaly. They proceeded to rampage the wedding, but eventually they were contained. With help from the bride Jenny herself, she and Michael then got married, officiated by...
I now have the pleasure of pronouncing you man and wife.
Matt took Emily to meet his father, Gideon, who promptly died. Jess and Becca dealt with the Tyrannosaurus Rex in an art gallery. Matt dealt with a giant pterosaur over South Bank and the Thames near Big Ben, whilst Abby and Connor covered it up from the media. Connor got his own Prospero lab and built an anomaly dating calculator, somehow. 2 anomalies opened in the exact same location at a prison. One led to 1867 and the other to the Pliocene. Opposing forces of the 2 anomalies caused multiple smaller satellite anomalies to open around the prison. A terrorbird came through as the ARC team arrived. Danny Quinn came through the Pliocene anomaly and Matt accidentally knocked him out with an EMD. After failing to lock the merged anomalies, Connor was able to separate the anomalies, stopping the satellite anomalies. Ethan also arrived at the prison, deciding to leave this time. Whilst attempting to catch him, Danny recognised him as his long-lost brother, Patrick Quinn, and the ARC team took them back to the ARC. Philip briefly met with Danny, who questioned him about Helen Cutter. Danny and Patrick had a heated discussion about their history since the 1995 incident before Patrick escaped back to the prison, with Emily as a hostage. Again, Patrick left to the Pliocene, leaving Emily to the terrorbird. Matt and Danny arrived after she knocked it out. Danny warned Matt about Philip knowing Helen before following Patrick. Matt told Emily about his mission to avert the apocalypse and sent her back to the Victorian Age as she was a distraction. Back in Connor's lab, he theorized that satellite anomalies may cause infinite anomalies to open worldwide in a convergence, and he told Philip. He dismissed Connor's theory and took him to his New Dawn facility, showing off his plan to create free renewable energy from the anomalies. Philip arranged for April Leonard to be Connor's lab assistant, but actually to keep an eye on him. A section of roadworks in London collapsed and the ARC team discovered the giant burrowing insects. Connor was taken back to the insect nest, where he set off a gas explosion, killing all the insects. Lester hosted a knighthood vetting official, thinking he was in line for a knighthood. However, she was vetting Philip.
Or should I say, Sir Philip?
Matt enlisted Abby into his mission to save the future, noting that he believed Connor and Philip had something to do with it. An anomaly opened in the North Sea, leading to the Jurassic. Some Libluridon came through and returned soon after, following the ARC team's submarine that accidentally went through. Sometime later, the Admiral fired a nuclear torpedo at the anomaly.
Nuking anything works.
Luckily, the team's sub returned just before and locked the anomaly, though the torpedo went through, fortunately without consequences. An anomaly to the Victorian era in 1868 opened and a raptor came through. The team arrived and Becca mistakenly sent it back. Matt then followed it through. Abby returned to the ARC, where April and Connor were working on a New Dawn project. When they left, Abby snuck in and downloaded a copy of Connor's hard drive. The raptor was thrown through the anomaly and Matt returned with Emily, followed by Henry, who was promptly dealt with. Connor and April's new prototype device artificially opened a small, man-made anomaly. The anomaly was detected by Jess, and the team found the new anomaly to their horror. Philip banished everyone from the Prospero lab. A colony of futuristic beetles swarmed through the anomaly and burrowed into the Ark's walls, causing lockdown. As the team dealt with the beetles, Jess was bitten. Philip tried to blow up the Ark and Connor, quote-unquote, recalibrated his anomaly to send out a gamma pulse to kill the beetles. Connor discovered that Philip had ties with Helen Cutter and turned against Philip, revealing to Matt and Abby that there was a giant anomaly machine at New Dawn. Matt and the team finally informed Lester about his mission and what Philip was up to. At the same time, a Cretaceous anomaly opened and a Tyrannosaurus Rex came through to London. Matt arrived on scene first and dispatched the theropod with his EMD, impressing Becca, though hundreds more anomalies started opening not only around the United Kingdom, but the whole world. Convergence had begun. Connor tried to stall Philip on the way to New Dawn, but he became trapped in his car by a Caprasuchus. Philip left Connor, revealing he had never really trusted him. Jess and Lester coordinated Abby and Becca, several Ark teams and soldiers to deal with multiple creature incursions. Abby later saved Connor from the Caprasuchus, and they, along with Matt and Emily, went to stop New Dawn. April and Abby had an altercation, leading to her falling off a balcony. Emily was locked in a cupboard, Connor was trying to deactivate the anomaly machine, and Matt faced Philip but was captured as Philip opened his New Dawn anomaly, leading to Connor falling through the anomaly. As Philip's anomaly grew in power and became self-sustaining, it drained power from and closed all the other convergence anomalies around the world.
They've all closed.
All of them?
Every last one.
Matt escaped Philip's men, then he and Abby went through the anomaly, which led to Matt's future time period. Sometime later, they returned with Connor. The New Dawn anomaly started growing uncontrollably, and every Prospero worker bailed, leaving Philip to realise he had underestimated the anomaly's power. An electromagnetic pulse was sent out by the anomaly, causing mass power outage. Back at the Ark, Connor's mini man-made anomaly somehow reopened, and 4 to 5 mutated future predators came through and attacked Jess and Lester. Matt saved Emily just before Philip destroyed the building to try to stop the anomaly, but his sacrifice was in vain, as the anomaly continued to grow. The team returned to the Ark and tased the predators, saving Lester. Connor and Matt contained the small anomaly in a sun cage-like device and drove it to New Dawn. Matt drove the anomaly into the New Dawn anomaly, causing it to destabilize and close, averting the New Dawn future. Somehow, Matt returned. Back at the Ark, Abby proposes to Connor.
Will you marry me?
So yes.
Lester predicted that anomalies had closed for good. However, he got a call from the minister, informing him that there was a missing train at King's Cross Station. As the team headed out, Matt had a strange vision of himself saying,
Go back. You have to go back.
After the whole New Dawn fiasco and a temporary lull in anomaly activity, the British government decided to keep it all a secret, hoping it would all go away. The Anomaly Research Centre developed a device to predict anomaly closure times. Mac Rendell joined the Anomaly Research Centre as a soldier. On one occasion, Mac presumably chased an Albertosaurus through an anomaly to the Cretaceous Spaghetti Junction. He was carrying an EMD and anomaly timer.
What causes the anomalies? How do I stop them?
You can't. They're a force of nature.
In the timeline where Mac didn't join the Anomaly Research Centre, around December or January of 2012, a recurring Cretaceous anomaly opened in a park and a pteranodon, and a pair of Utah raptors came through. Evan recruited Mac Rendell into the Special Projects Group. Both them and Toby Nance started searching the park. Dylan Weir from the Predator Control Team and Evan briefly went through the anomaly, followed by one of the raptors. As the anomaly closed, they quickly returned, leaving the dinosaur behind. When Evan's colleague Tony Drake was killed by the other Utah raptor, Connor Temple came to warn Cross of messing with the anomalies.
Do you, recognize this little beauty?
It's mine.
Oh yeah, it's not.
As Connor told Evan to put every creature back where it came from, he quickly departed when he saw the new timeline map approaching. The Vancouver police shut down the park when the Pteranodon captured a boy. Ange Finch from Evan's company contacted Project Magnet.
They're dinosaurs. Noted.
Ken Leeds got the team permission to go in. As Evan, Dylan and Mac rescued the boy, the Pteranodon and Utahraptor killed each other. Evan subsequently froze their bodies in the team's base, the tank. The recurring Paleocene anomaly reopened north of Vancouver, and a Titanoboa came through. Evan and Toby updated their anomaly detector to search a wider area and went to investigate up north. Dylan also went to investigate. After the team discovered the giant snake and managed to send it back through the closing anomaly, Dylan quit Predator Control to join the Special Projects group.
If that light shows up again, call us.
Call us?
Don't ruin it.
An anomaly opened in an airport leading to the Jurassic period, and a cargo plane piloted by Jim and Pallavi Gruel accidentally took off through the anomaly and crashed on the other side. As Toby detected the anomaly site, Mac brought Samantha Sedaris there, leading to her knowledge of the Special Projects group. Dylan and Evan launched a rescue mission through the anomaly. It ultimately failed, with both the plane and the bodies of the deceased pilots left on the other side. A large queen beetle came through the anomaly and was put back through by Mac and Samantha. A Pliocene anomaly opened in a disused train yard, and 2 adults and a juvenile Titanus walleri terrorbirds came through. The Special Projects group managed to capture them and sent them back through. Unbeknownst to them, Leeds had captured Leggy, the juvenile terrorbird, and drove him to Project Magnet. With evidence of prehistory, Leeds' boss, Colonel Hall, reactivated Project Magnet to full operating capacity to deal with the anomaly phenomenon. Hall also had the plan to collect creatures, plants and bacteria to study for bioengineering reusable fuels to correct human damage to the ecosystem via the past. An anomaly to the Permian opened at a university and 2 Lycanauts came through. One was captured by the SPG with help from Samantha and taken back to the tank. It recovered from the tranquilizer and Samantha was brutally killed, enraging Mac. The second synapsid followed the scent trail to the base, but one was killed by Dylan and the second was shot dead by Mac. Both were stored in the cold room. Evan called Leeds, who arranged a cover-up for Samantha's death. An anomaly opened to the Triassic and a pack of Daemonosaurus came through to a store. The Special Projects group came in and dealt with the dinosaurs. Ange was considering leaving due to disdain of the anomalies and creatures. However, she stayed after Evan initiated a relationship with her. An anomaly to the Jurassic opened in the mountain forest and 2 Ornitholestes came through. The team tranquilized one and sent the other back through the anomaly. Project Magnet was called in to help contain the anomaly. However, Leeds and Major Douglas took the tranquilized dinosaur back to Project Magnet for experimentation. A Pachycephalosaurus came through a Cretaceous anomaly in the Olympic Village. The team arrived and tranquilized it. However, it sneezed on Evan, contaminating him with natural hallucinogens from its diet. Leeds implied he'd return the dinosaur through its anomaly. However, he took it back to Project Magnet. Back at the tank, Evan hallucinated the Albertosaurus from his past trauma, leading to Mac discovering his alternate timeline duplicate frozen in the basement. After which, he left questioning his existence since he met Evan. Ange later stopped Evan blowing up the building and promptly left him and Cross Photonics. A Cretaceous anomaly opened on Howard Canaan's estate and a large male Triceratops came through. Howard caught Evan and Dylan on his property.
Evan Cross!
You thieving
but proceeded to help Evan theorize and create an anomaly closure prediction device. As Dylan sent the Triceratops back, Howard ran through the anomaly as it closed. After months of experimentations and biopsies, Leggy escaped the Project Magnet laboratory and was discovered by Evan and Dylan in Vancouver. Major Douglas was dispatched to recover the terrorbird with a small team. After Dylan mercy killed Leggy, Leeds helped her and Evan escape, giving them his magnet access card as he was arrested by the magnet soldiers. Toby took the anomaly detector into hiding as Project Magnet soldiers burst into the tank to confiscate the SPG's tech. They arrested Evan so Colonel Hall could question him and Leeds on the anomaly project. Meanwhile, Dylan and Max snuck into the Project Magnet laboratory and found the dissected bodies of the Ornitholestes and Pachycephalosaurus. They also found and took evidence of the bacterial/algal studies being undertaken. They were captured by Project Magnet, and Hall used their quote-unquote treason to blackmail Evan into working for him. Evan reluctantly agreed and was released. Then the team decided it was time to give the alternate Mac Rendell a proper burial. An anomaly to the Cretaceous Spaghetti Junction opened and a Brontoscorpio came through to an old mining site. Toby alerted the team about a new anomaly and they all headed there. However, she was stung by the arachnid just before it returned through the anomaly. Evan reluctantly called in Project Magnet to Medi-evac Toby, joined by Mac, as Evan, Dylan and Leeds went through the anomaly for a venom sample. However, Leeds immediately returned. As Toby went into cardiac arrest from the venom, Dylan returned with the Brontoscorpio stinger. She had to return to the past to save Evan. Project Magnet doctors made an antivenom which saved Toby. Colonel Hall went through the anomaly and returned with Evan, Dylan, Connor Temple, Kieran Coles and the Albertosaurus, the same one which killed Evan's wife. Matt confronted Connor and asked about his alternate life, but Connor denied any knowledge, advising Mac to live his life. After speaking with Ange, Connor and Kieran were allowed to return to their own time through the anomaly. Somehow the Albertosaurus recovered from the tranquilizer and possibly wounded or killed Colonel Hall. Evan, Mac and Dylan with flamethrowers chased the dinosaur back through the anomaly. It is unknown what happened here afterwards. At some point in the near future, an anomaly to the Cretaceous Spaghetti Junction opened in London. The infamous Albertosaurus came through and rampaged the streets. Connor Temple led his own team in dealing with the dinosaur. They sent it back through the anomaly, however it chased new team member Kieran Coles into the past. Connor reluctantly gave chase. Much later on, Connor returned with wounded Kieran to London. In a future where Philip Burton's New Dawn fully activated, the anomaly wreaked havoc on the Earth's atmosphere. The effects wiped out the majority of life on Earth, leaving the surface desolate and the very few surviving humans to live in underground bunkers. Toxic storms regularly raged on the surface, but somehow swarming beetles and giant burrowing insects managed to evolve here, or devolve in the case of the mutant remnants of future predators. At some point, Gideon was born and he later had a son, Matthew Matt Anderson. Eventually, the survivors decided to try to avert the apocalypse by sending several agents back to before 2011 to figure out what event went wrong with the anomalies. Among them was Matt and Gideon, who specifically travelled back to 2001. Another anomaly opened up to pre-2011 and several giant burrowing insects went through. A small man-made anomaly linking to the New Anomaly Research Centre in 2011 opened, and a swarm of beetles travelled through. It closed soon after. The New Dawn anomaly reopened much later, linking to itself back in 2011. Connor Temple fell through it and was marooned here, trapped between the mutated predators and the toxic storms. Matt and Abby followed through to rescue him and sheltered in one of the bunkers. They just managed to escape the mutant predators and returned through the anomaly. The small man-made anomaly reopened and 4 to 5 predators went through. Both the New Dawn anomaly and the small anomaly closed soon after.
Ladies and gentlemen, James Lester has been relieved of his duties.
Alternatively, in the timeline where Christine Johnson wasn't killed, she eventually managed to take over the Anomaly Research Center in the future. At some point, the Future Ark moved into a big warehouse and developed several pieces of technology, including neural clamps to control creatures, cloning technology, digital face disguising pendants, a device that held a time map of every anomaly past or future, a large touchscreen computer to interface with the artifact, and a handheld device which could quote-unquote download and open/close anomalies via the artifact and computer. Christine sanctioned for an army of future predators to be created using the cloning tech and DNA from the original timeline predators, presumably for military purposes. The
troops from the Ark.
Though attempts were made to control them using neural clamps, these predators quickly escaped, established natural breeding and increased in numbers. They apparently wiped out humanity over the next few decades, leaving the cities of the future desolate. It's possible giant insectoids known as Megopterans were created at the same time, or they appeared through an anomaly from later in the timeline. They too established themselves in this time period. Helen Cutter arrived here, possibly through an anomaly from the Permian. On this occasion or another time, she apparently captured around 20 neurally clamped predators and took them back to 2006/2007 for Oliver Leak. An anomaly to 2009 opened and Helen used it frequently to travel back and forth. Helen found the cloning technology, then cloned herself a mini army of mercenaries using the DNA of the man known as the Cleaner, and took them back to 2007. On another occasion, Helen returned with 2 clones. She discovered Captain Ross and some soldiers here who had come through another anomaly from 2009 on Christine Johnson's orders. Helen watched them trying to obtain a strange artifact and then being slaughtered by a group of predators. Ross abandoned the artifact and escaped through his anomaly. Not knowing what it was, Helen grabbed it and escaped through her anomaly with only 1 clone now. Helen came back again and cloned herself a clone of her husband, Nick Cutter. Once complete, she took it back to 2009. Helen returned and this time stayed to study all the technology and anomaly research in the Future Anomaly Research Center. Her anomaly seemingly closed during this period. Much later, a third anomaly from 2009 opened and 2 Megopterans travelled through. Sometime later, Jack Maitland accidentally drove a Lotus car into the future city and he got trapped when he fell down a shaft. One of the Megopterans followed him back to the future. Abby Maitland led Danny Quinn, Connor Temple and Captain Becker in a rescue mission to save Jack. They found him after a few encounters with some predators. Captain Wilder arrived through Christine Johnson's anomaly and found Helen in disguise in the Future Ark. He took her hostage and took her back to 2009. As the predators started fighting with the Megopterans, the Ark team escaped back to 2009 with Jack. Helen returned through Christine's anomaly with the artifact and Christine herself to show her the future she had created. Helen then left Christine to be eaten by the predators and closed the anomaly with her device. Helen then went back to the Future Ark to download an anomaly route to the Pliocene. Christine's anomaly reopened briefly and 3 Megopterans went through before it closed. Danny, Abby and Connor arrived here through their anomaly and found Helen. Helen downloaded an anomaly to the Cretaceous, destroyed the artifact and escaped through the anomaly. Abby, Danny and Connor managed to reopen the anomaly with one of the devices and closed it before the predators could follow. 4 missions led by Captain Becker came to this future to find Connor, Abby and Danny. The missions ultimately failed as they were unable to find the trio and Sarah was killed during the final mission. Becker returned alone. At some point, Christine Johnson's anomaly reopened and another Megopteran went through. Later on, you, the lab assistant, arrived here. You found a video message left by Connor Temple.
We have to stop Helen Cutter before she hurts anybody else.
It is unknown if you were left marooned here or saved by Captain Becker. At some point, camouflaging apes were either created by humanity or evolved naturally. an anomaly to 1995 opened and one Camo Beast went through. Patrick Quinn arrived here and the anomaly closed. Patrick spent a number of years here and had to kill Camo Beast to survive before eventually he escaped through another anomaly, possibly to 1902. The original anomaly reopened but now linked to 2009 and the first Camo Beast returned home, however it was shot dead.
Is that what our future is going to look like?
Not ours. The Earth's. Humanity's going to be long gone by then.
Speculated as 50 million years into the future, primates evolved into sea-dwelling creatures. An anomaly briefly opened here to 2007 and several mer creatures and a futuristic shark went through before the anomaly closed. Later, the same anomaly reopened and the giant mer queen dragged Abby Maitland through to the future shoreline. Connor Temple, Nick Cutter and Stephen Hart followed and rescued her and shot a few of the attacking mer and the queen before returning to 2007. It's likely Oliver Leake sent some mercenaries through this anomaly to collect 2 mer creatures. At some point, some birds evolved to be large flightless bipedal predators. They could produce pheromones to control weak-minded creatures. At least 2 future birds travelled through anomalies to the time of the Incans and to the Pliocene, respectively. It was speculated from DNA evidence that in the original timeline, thought to be 100 million years away, bats naturally evolved into wingless megafauna, becoming the top predator. At least one family of predators travelled through an anomaly to the Permian period. Back in the second timeline, speculated as 500 million years into the future, in a steaming hot climate, a type of fungus evolved to be highly aggressive and parasitic. The calls of birds could also be heard here. An anomaly to 2009 opened and Lloyd accidentally arrived in a rainforest here. Whilst looking around for his phone, he came into contact with spores of the future fungus. In his panic, he tried to return through the anomaly, but as it closed, he was left choking to death, possibly turning into a fungus creature. So, this concludes all known events of Primeval. Not with a bang, but a mushroom. Are these all the major events that occurred? Did we miss anything? Were the timelines confusing? Let us know in the comments. When you're writing your comment though, don't forget...
You do not give me orders!
We tried to be as objective as possible, but there were a few occasions where light speculation was needed. Thank you for listening, and let's continue to celebrate our favourite show, Primeval.
Hold your head tall, be a better man. Get the slip in your back now while you can. I've got a simple master plan. Oh Lord, I wanna be a better man. Hold your head tall, be a better man. Get the slip in your back now while you can. I've got a simple master plan. Oh Lord, I wanna be a better man. Oh Lord, I wanna be a better man. Oh Lord, I wanna be a better man.
Classy.